I'm going to direct our viewers, Mr. Charest, to a brand new article that's just gone up on our website from my colleagues Katie Simpson and Kate McKenna, documenting day by day and hour by hour, really, what was going on through last weekend, leading up to Monday, behind the scenes, quite dramatic, leading to that decision by Donald Trump to grant Canada this 30-day pause. You haven't been on our network since Monday, so let me start with you. Where were you at that time, and what was going on from your standpoint? When did you hear that there had been this deal?
Well, we were all waiting with bated breath to find out whether Mr. Trump would go ahead with his February 1st announcement. And, you know, we're dealing with a situation where we learn about things in the media as everyone else does. And that's true for the government of Canada. And I'm sure your account reports that. So we were surprised, I guess, when he said, no, February 1st, we're coming out with our tariffs, we're going to do it. And then the next day went ahead and we got the 25-10 decision, 10% on energy. And then ensues the deadline of Tuesday and a short window of opportunity to talk and to see whether we can dissuade them from implementing this. And some reaction on all sides. You know, interestingly enough, Heather, I'm encouraged by the reaction in the United States. I think all the work that we are doing as Canadians, federal, provincial governments, business sector, to talk to our allies in the United States, it's having an impact. And now we need to double down on that. If we're doing a lot of it now, I'm delighted to see that there are a lot of people in Washington today as we speak. We need to do even more of it in the few days that we have before the new deadline so that Americans speak up and talk to the American administrations. They are the most credible ones in dissuading the American administration of doing the tariff solution as opposed to coming to agreements on areas of common interest.
It seemed that there was, from people to whom we're speaking, a general lack of awareness about the stakes, about the issue from the American perspective, which maybe was brought into very sharp focus by the announcement, sort of the lead up on the weekend, and then the market reaction. What do you think was sort of decisive in turning his view?
Well, the market reactions are very important for Mr. Trump. We know that. That's an interesting story. Actually, the markets did react, but it was more muted than what a number of us anticipated, including myself. I thought the market reaction would be more important, more on the downside. Now, interestingly enough, in the analysis following that, you know, the Wall Street Journal reports that the people who watch this don't believe that Mr. Trump is going to implement his tariffs. They really, really interpret it as a negotiating tool and not as a permanent policy objective pursued by the administration. And that's very interesting. But if ever he crossed the Rubicon and implemented tariffs at the levels he's talking about, I'm sure there would be a very negative market reaction. And that would affect the whole of the American economy on an immediate basis, but also would influence the president in regards to what he's actually doing.
So whatever the thinking, listening to the voices or watching what's going on, this pause, and the question obviously now is what next? And what I'm wondering becomes the priority right now. Clearly 30 days, there's no time to waste. What do you tackle now? What do you focus on now? And I ask that with the view that there's really no definable target at the end of this. Canada has to do this by 30 days. So how do you know what to do to avoid being in exactly the same situation come early March?
Well, and this is part of the method of Mr. Trump, to hit your adversary very, very hard, destabilize your adversary, get some gains, and then try to negotiate concessions. And you're right. The problem is we're not sure exactly what it is that we are trying to obtain. But what we do know is that we need to go to the place where he is in his mind. What is it that he wants to accomplish? He wants more manufacturing in the United States in the longer term. We know that. But I think we need to speak on issues like energy, for example. They need more energy security. The question we should put to them is, well, how can we be helpful? What is it that we can do together that allows you to attain the objectives that you need or that you want to attain? And if we can generate those conversations and structure those conversations, that's what allows us to actually, get things done, secure a longer-term relationship that's in everyone's interest. And the other part, as I mentioned earlier, we need to now use this time to go out and blanket the country, the American, whether private sector, public sector, congressmen, senators, everyone, so that they are all aware of the potential consequences. One encouraging part, Heather, the American media and financial media gave great coverage on the weekend of the negative consequences of these tariffs on sectors like the automotive industry, which was not the case before. So we've made headway in establishing a beachhead of information that's going to allow us to make our case and conclude agreements with the Americans that is in everyone's interest, their interest and our interest.
The article that I was citing earlier that's just gone up online talks to senior sources who are telling CBC about next potential flashpoints. I mean, nothing really identified at this point, but one is suspecting that the next demand he's going to make is for defense spending, and that might be difficult for Canada to reach. Is that something that would be a concern for you, or what are the issues that you think he may come up with that he wants to wrest sort of concessions from Canada on that could be particularly problematic?
Well, and here's an interesting point. Mr. Trump isn't always wrong. On defense spending, previous presidents and administrations have also pressed us on the issue of doing more defense spending in our own vital interest, and we've been delinquent. Heather, we have not been up to the task of occupying the North and defending our sovereignty. So there are things that we could do in the short term. We need to then put in front of them what our plan is and do it because it makes sense for us, by the way, not just because they're asking for it, but because it makes sense. So on defense, I see a whole opportunity there for us to talk about what we do together. We're together in NORAD. I suspect he may go to NORAD, though in the call with the Prime Minister, there seemed to be some lack of understanding of what NORAD was exactly. And NORAD is a key defense agreement between the United States and Canada. And you remember, it was a Canadian general who was in the seat of NORAD when 9/11. And there's a great story there to tell about what we're doing. So on defense, by all means, let's talk about what we need to do in our interest as a country that also is in the interest of the United States. And by the way, the rest of the world.
You used the word opportunity there. I'm hopeful you'll come back and we can continue this conversation, because I'm going to have to leave it with this question. But I'm wondering what you're seeing in this country by way of opportunity. We are hearing, Monsieur Charest, from literally hundreds of people into my program alone, our program alone, who are upset, who are in tears, who are angry and expressing their betrayal, who are looking to buy Canadian products wherever they are, who are going to be changing their buying habits. They really want to express this somehow. How do you think this might be an opportunity to harness this new type of patriotism in this moment?
We will one day thank Donald Trump for allowing Canadians to have a hard look at themselves and appreciate what we have, and to be able to make better decisions about our own future, our economy, and the way the country operates. Federal-provincial relations are back on the agenda, and our place in the world, Heather. And Canadians should feel mobilized. I'm impressed on and very proud to see that everyone wants to actually, be part of this effort, so that we can defend our interest. And countries and governments need to help us organize that, so that we're able to be effective in being Canadians and promoting our own interests, not against anyone else, but because we are an exceptional country. We're in a great country, and this is an opportunity for us to be able to build a better country for future generations if we get it right.
You're welcome on the program anytime. As I say, plenty of questions as we continue to watch this evolution and count down again to another deadline. Thank you, Jean Charest. I appreciate it as always.
Thank you, Heather. Bye-bye.
Bye. This is CBC Morning Live.